What's up guys, it's Punchy, and we're back today with a pretty substantial Deepwoken update with some new content and game changes that will definitely shake up the meta. There's some interesting stuff to unpack, and I'm excited to show you what's up. And let's get right into it. Right off the bat with some pretty crazy updates to the overall gameplay of things, I'm gonna talk about this first since it will affect every single player and every single weapon. The swing speed stat has been overhauled entirely. Previously, before this change, 1.0 was supposedly the absolute maximum swing speed achievable on most weapons, but this has changed. Instead of 1.0 being the max value for swing speed, it's now the average across the weapon classes. Essentially, the swing speed of all Deepwoken weapons has been adjusted, making heavy and medium weapons feel almost the same, whereas light weapons feel a little bit more reactable if you're fighting against them. It's a slight and interesting change, but every single weapon has been adjusted, so hopefully this does solve a bit of the swing speed unfairness that light weapon abuses the most. Of course, humanoid mobs like bandits or divers also follow this new swing speed rework, making them perform exactly like players that would use these new weapons. So, in any form of combat, it should be more realistic and easier to get used to with these new changes. I'm honestly not too sure how I feel about this update just yet, and we'll have to observe and wait to see if it balances things out. Of course, give it a bit and then share your thoughts down below if you think this helps. Besides this, there's also a new sound effect indicating when a weapon attack can be parried, which is awesome for overall combat information. If you really wanted, and I did try this myself, you can parry reliably with your eyes closed just by the sound alone, so that's pretty nice. Another great change to base combat is uppercuts with fixed range. So in short, every single weapon uppercut has a constant range that will not change no matter what. Previously, players would gain extra range or lose out based on their weapon type, which is no longer a combat feature and makes things a little bit more equal in between the weapon types. Next up, with a very strange new flame charm mantra, we have Flame Sentinel, and no, we're not talking about Rogue Lineage. If you wanted zone denial in the game, I guess Flame Charm has that option. So, with this new mantra, we summon a sun-like orb that floats in the air, spamming shots down below at players from a distance. The damage and firing speed should scale based on the level of the mantra, but honestly, you just gotta respect it. Magnet Spark makes the Sentinel follow the user, making it easier to aim at close range. I don't think it can really catch players off guard if they're just chilling with its very slow projectile speed, but it's extra pressure that will pay off in ganks and close quarter combat. Luckily though, with all forms of this move, we can slap it a few times to break the Sentinel entirely. After this, we have a new relic that uses other relics as a resource for crafting. So normally the Armorer's Needle lets you replace a certain armor pip, but the new stat is RNG, it's not really confirmed. With the new Gilded Needle, which you can craft with 5 Armorer's Needle and a piece of gold, you can simply pick the resultant pip. So you either gamble with the normal one or confirm your stats with this new one. With this update, we also have some pretty nice talents to mess around with. A simple one being Hip Shooter allows side guns on medium or heavy builds to shoot a projectile shot with a set cooldown. This actually used to be a feature that was a bit unfair, but now you gotta invest to abuse the side gun's range. Next up, with Piercing Blow, attacks that break an opponent's block ignore all of their armor resistance for some pretty good true damage, and this does seem nice and it might be pretty powerful. And the last talent we have today is Broken Ankles. By block breaking an opponent, put their mobility slot mantras on cooldown, very similar to those crit talents, and yeah, this is gonna shut down runners. Next up, with some well-awaited guild content, we have a new guild role, Lieutenant. The guild lieutenant can promote members to officers and demote officers, which is almost the same as being a leader. There's no actual limit to this new role, but be careful because they can grant any member in your guild officer rank. All you gotta do is promote somebody to an officer and do that again to achieve the lieutenant rank. So it's pretty sweet, and I'm definitely ready for more guild content as Conquest approaches fast. Building on top of this week's guild content as well as the last, there are finally locations to view the current guild leaderboard. Added earlier last week, and I guess from last week's update, there are now guild ranks and also multiple leaderboards around the map at specific town locations displaying the top Deepwoken guilds. This is a nice touch, and I'm glad to see more guild support in the game and more incentive to, I guess, go out and grind. Moving forward, with the full rework of the current Vow of Mastery, we no longer longer have to type the command in order to buff our teammates. Previously, you'd have to type out somebody's name alongside the command, which could be annoying mid-combat because, realistically, nobody likes selling a fight just because they misspelled a word or something else. So now, in-game, the current Vow of Mastery with this update is a pretty simple UI. All you gotta do is press the tool in your hotbar, click the command that you want to do, and finally the name of that chosen partner. Honestly, it's a decent pick that's instant for gank support, and I do enjoy what they did to this charisma tree. Vow wasn't ever terrible to use, but now it's even easier to do and it's faster. Up next, with a visual rework which I'm super excited about and will talk about later, we finally have a change to the Shade Devour status. So before this, the Shade Devour subjected both players to a blurry black screen particle that was impossible to see through and hid animations. It definitely wasn't fun to play with or fight against, but hopefully that has changed. With the new status visual, Shade Devour buff swirls around the user in a vortex instead of a dark cloud of obscuring particles, which is so much better. Besides this, it also drains less health than before with a maximum of -5%. And that's it. So make sure to check out Battle Royale while you can this weekend and take some W's with your squad if you can. Thanks again, and for even more exclusive update content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe so we can hit 90k subs. Thanks again, it's punchin' time.